Hi, this is Kate Northrup, author of Money, A Love Story, and as part of the launch of this book, I'm interviewing some of my friends and people I really just love and respect about their money love stories. So I'm here with Laurie Gerber, who I met through the Handel Group. She's an amazing coach. She's an executive with the Handel Group. If you want to know more about their amazing personal and business coaching, it's HANDEL group.com, Handel Group. So I want to start out by finding out one of the things that you guys work on with people a lot, and it's one of the things I benefited from the most with the Handel Group, is integrity and telling the truth. So what are some moments or a moment where in your life with money that came to play and you found yourself needing to tell on yourself?
Yes. First of all, a great question. I want to talk a little bit about the concept of
Great,
integrity
let's
because
do that.
not everybody has the same idea of what that is. So we talk about different levels of integrity. Physical integrity, basics, right? Look at your money as you recommend.
Right.
Balance your checkbook. Figure out what your budget's going to be and act accordingly. Get the insurance that you need. So all of that physical stuff that usually is where people focus when they're starting to get themselves straightened up. But there's two other levels: emotional integrity and spiritual integrity.
Okay.
Emotional integrity is about how you feel. Your thoughts, your feelings, your relationship with your money. Do you feel good about how you spend, how you save, how you invest? So that's impacted also, of course, by physical and spiritual. And then spiritual is when you get to that place where you are tapped into your reason for caring about wealth. And you talk about that too. And so ultimately what we have found is actually getting people there first can be very helpful with the other levels. And for me, getting to a level of spiritual integrity, like really asking myself, why do I care about this?
Yeah.
What's
Why
my deeper
is money
reason?
Important to
because
you?
we are so prone to thinking it's shallow and that we don't have good reasons for it. So looking at that and actually writing it down, which I recommend and I know you approve of.
Yes, I approve.
Was hugely eye-opening for me because what I realized is that I wanted to be of more service. That everything that I wanted for myself was ultimately so I could be more available. Yeah. And most people have that. Even if it's not a lofty service dream, most people do have a good deep reason. Yeah. And when they get in touch with that, some of all that garbage we have in our heads about guilt and
can melt away and give us some more freedom around the whole conversation.
So those levels of integrity.
Thank you for clarifying what those are.
I will go back to levels of integrity in our conversation. Now, I specifically wanted to say 3 cheers for you for telling on yourself. I think that that's a vulnerable thing to do and a really powerful thing to do for people watching.
Well, and just a side note, the first time I learned how to do that was while coaching with the Handel Group. So I just want to really give a shout out. That was my first entree into telling the truth.
Yeah, it's like an art and a science,
shocking,
right?
And amazing once I started doing it.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's simple and everyone thinks they do it, but there is actually a process.
I know.
To it.
I was like, oh my God, I'm such a liar. I never knew.
Me too. I will see yours and I will raise you one.
But I'm not anymore, and neither is Laurie.
Yes, well, it's a process. I mean, my rule is wherever your reality is inconsistent with your dream, there's some BS. So you get to go look for what are you hiding? What are you pretending that's not real? Yep. So I personally am still a liar, and I always have to be looking. So my fun story. So once upon a time, I had a business with my brother, a tutoring company, and it was really successful. I worked hard at it. I was like the people person and he was the back end. And we did so well eventually that we hired a third person. Great. Okay, we're going to call her Nancy. Okay. So Nancy was lovely. I really liked her. The idea was that she would make the matches between the tutor and the client, and I would do more promotion, marketing, and expand the company that way. So things were going well for a while, but at a certain point things plateaued. Okay. Right. So dream, expansion, reality, contraction. Something's wrong. Right. Okay. Now we all have explanations, right? And this is where my lie came out. My explanation to my brother and to her was, well, you know what? She's not an owner. She's not an owner. She doesn't care as much as I do. She's not that good at sales. She's just, and I'm trying. I'm working with her. Yeah. We have these meetings. I would nudge her and train her and guilt her and do all my mechanisms and. We just kind of threw our hands up, which is when I went to the coach, right? And the coach, my Handel coach said, okay, well, where's the lie? Where's the BS? Like, let's go dig. Yeah. So I went to the numbers. And all my stories, if you go back to the numbers, you really, the numbers tell the truth. And the numbers revealed that she was actually as good at making matches as I ever was.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? So why wasn't the business expanding? Do you have any guess as to why that might have been? See, there was this part about me supposed to do the promotions and the marketing, and I wasn't doing that.
Oh.
I was sitting on my chicken butt and spending all my time and energy and heartfelt devotion on getting her to do her job better.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that convenient? I wanted to train someone else in what I was already good at instead of expand myself to the thing I was scared to do.
Yeah.
That was such a revelation. And it was embarrassing, and it was like for a minute, and then I was like, oh, good. I can do something about this. Very similar to your story.
Yeah.
So I, of course, had to apologize and do lots of like, oops, sorry, which was very good for morale. Very, very good for office morale. To know what the truth was.
Yes.
You know, and the truth was I was not talking about the business. The other thing I love about this is that anybody who's listening, who's an entrepreneur, who is a business person, who even in a regular career path, if you are not talking about your business or about your mission, you're contracting.
Yeah. And
nobody wants to. We're scared.
Right. It's vulnerable. Put yourself out there, then people say no. It's all sorts of things. Yeah.
It's sort of the best coaching there is. Ultimately.
So as a result of that, I imagine your business grew when you started telling the truth. Or no, what happened?
That's actually right. The physical integrity. I put in the physical integrity. In that day, I remember I made a promise. I'm going to do X number of contacts a day before noon.
Great.
And that was my special little before noon.
Great.
Because I knew if I faced my fear before noon, the rest of the day was going to be awesome.
So easy. Yeah.
Right? So I can't even remember how many contacts it was back then. It didn't really matter. Which is my point. But the fact was that in doing it, of course, the results started to come.
Yeah.
Of course, physical integrity. But the emotional integrity and the spiritual integrity stacked right on up from there. Right, so emotionally I felt better about myself. I was, of course, more confident.
Yes.
And then I had to return to the mission of the company.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to talk to people.
Right. It keeps you in touch with that all the time.
Right, why do I care?
That's right.
Where's my motivation? And so that all the combination of all three together, absolutely.
That's really cool.
Our sales targets.
Amazing.
Truly amazing. There were some other good things I did, too, with a coach at that same time in terms of writing different scenarios. That was another great exercise of writing different scenarios out of how it could happen, how business could improve. That helped with the emotional integrity piece.
That's cool.
It's an exercise I give
that's a good one.
clients very often.
Love that. Now, you told me a story over email that was pretty amazing about what some people would think of as an awful thing that happened to you, but how you turned it into a gift, and you really did an amazing reframe that most people would not have the courage to look at it that way.
It took me a while.
Of course. Can you tell that story briefly and just share that pretty courageous thing that you did?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that other people, can turn their stories around faster than I can. You call money a love story. This was my money a horror story. Like, just truly, and I can now laugh because I can see I manifested the whole thing. I can see that I gave myself the perfect challenge for all the right lessons. But at the time, and I'm sure there are people who right now are just in their worst nightmare and afraid. And maybe someone could have told me that it would be okay. Maybe I would have listened. I don't know. But I'm here to say it's true. The cliche is true. In your hardest challenges are your greatest lessons. So my hardest challenge came out of this dream, another dream that we had, which was to own a townhouse in Manhattan.
Amazing.
And if you know Manhattan, you know that is not a duh.
Yeah.
Right? That
not
takes
everybody
a little
is
something.
going to be doing that.
It takes a little something. It takes some, and I was really working on it on all those levels of integrity, and through a lot of really cool steps, we had this opportunity to buy a place in Washington Heights. 5 floors, really a lot of potential.
Amazing.
Okay, so it was contingent on a lot of things. We don't come from wealth, but we had some savings, and we were selling an apartment and all that. Okay, so a lot of stars had to align. So we got bids from contractors for the renovation, and there were different bids at different rates. Of course, we took the lowest one. And for a while, it was all very exciting until our contractor started to disappear. Like, just not show up. And one day, he really didn't show up, and he really was gone. Like, we couldn't find him anywhere. We heard he was extradited to Hong Kong, which to this day, we do not know if that was true, but it seemed true because he was nowhere to be found. Yeah.
Wow.
And with a big chunk of our money. So what ensued after that was that I basically unraveled. I basically melted down in fear.
Because you had given him...
It was the giving the money and not knowing if it was coming back, not knowing if it was going to be spent on the renovation. It was the fact that we were mid-renovation and it was now stalled and we needed to move there. Yeah. It was the fact that our apartment wasn't selling. It was the fact that we had no idea what was going to cost to finish it. Now that we knew we were not with a trustworthy person, it was... And my attachment was, I made this decision based on we are going to keep this amount of money in our savings.
In the budget, like you were...
I had a budget and
You were sticking to it.
I was really attached to that budget, and it was not looking good for that budget, and I was like out of my mind. And so first I turned against the contractor and hated on him, and then I turned against my husband and hated on him and blamed him.
That's a really good choice.
Huge pitfall when you're in financial fear.
Blame your spouse.
If you can't blame your parents, which I couldn't,
and so
they
how
had lent us money.
So how did that go?
That was the worst of times.
Yeah.
And ultimately the best blessing. I was such a Looney Tune. I treated my husband like he was the contract, like he worked for me and he was not doing a good job. And thankfully I had a coach who put the mirror up and was like, oh, you're going to get a divorce. You're not only going to go into financial ruin, you're going to get a divorce too. Like, that's your plan. And my husband finally also was like, this is not finally he hit his breaking point. Like, I'm not taking this anymore. You're supposed to be on my team.
Good for him.
And in that moment of him saying team, I was like, team? I never thought of that. Oh, okay. So that began the complete and total shift of me learning how to be a wife and learning how to be a partner, which if you're in a relationship with someone, your finances are intertwined. If you don't work that out,
it's not going to work
out. That
does
blow up, right? If you have any kind of dreams.
Absolutely.
So this was my opportunity to create what that partnership was going to be with him. Thank goodness. We did end up surviving what was the craziest year, like the craziest year of essentially taking over the renovations ourselves. Essentially learning enough Chinese to conduct the renovations ourselves, pay for it out of borrowed savings,
whatever you
rearrange
could do.
it all to have it all turn out somehow, some way, and our marriage survive and be better for it. Happy ending. But again, I was so locked into my victim story about that whole thing that it was like they took my money. It was so unfair. I was lied to and betrayed. It was so stressful. Right? And what we teach is that if you can find your you in the story, if you can find your authorship in that story, if you can see your own...
See how you were playing a part.
Puppeteering, even, manifesting, however you want to call it, you get your power back. So again,
very cool.
I went to look at the numbers. And what the numbers revealed is that ultimately we ended up spending the same amount as the higher bid of the contractor that had said the other bid.
That was being honest, basically. Right?
Right. But at that time, did I la?
Yeah. You don't want to hear what it's actually going to cost.
No, because to tell you the truth, if I had contemplated that that's how much it was going to cost, and I watched what we paid for, I would have said no.
Right.
I wouldn't have taken the risk. And I wanted my townhouse. I wanted my townhouse, and I wanted to believe I could keep my savings too. Now, we eventually built back our savings. The townhouse actually generates revenue, so we got back to the set point.
It did turn out to be a love story.
It not only saved my marriage, really, because of the challenge of it. It not only got me the townhouse, which was the dream, and I am truly grateful. It was worth every penny and every bit of hardship. But it also generated revenue, right? Like there was the bright side I wasn't looking at because I was so fixated on my fear.
Right.
And ultimately, it was just a great story of taking back the truth and taking back my ownership. I wanted a liar. I had to find a liar
to teach you what you needed to learn.
And not only that, but I had to find it so I could take the risk.
Right.
Like I manifested someone telling me that
because otherwise you wouldn't have gotten your dream. Yeah. That's cool. That's pretty cool.
You understand? Like that was an awakening for me to go, oh, I actually found that guy. He didn't find me and victimize me. I found him because I wanted that. And then I got to be upset and everyone felt so, like all that other good, yummy stuff along the way too. And I got my townhouse. Right.
Cool. You got the lessons and the townhouse and a stronger marriage. Really beautiful.
A lot of
and your dream. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for sharing your story, for calling yourself out. It's really powerful. That's why I wanted to do these interviews, because when we speak about our money stories honestly and with integrity and with transparency, it inspires other people to do the same. So that's kind of the whole purpose of this project.
Exactly.
Thank you for rising to the challenge. Not that I'm surprised.
It's part of my mission too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
If you want to hear more money love stories, you can head over to moneyaLoveStory.com. And when you buy this book over there, you get access to a free course that I'm teaching called A Course in Having Enough. And I'll have guest experts, Marianne Williamson and Barbara Stanny and Amanda Steinberg, who founded dailyworth.com. So it's going to be an action-packed course. You get it for free when you buy the book, moneyaLoveStory.com. Thank you, Laurie. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.